Maryland men's basketball just tallied its 16th win at home this year. Women's basketball looks to continue its 6-game winning streak in Minneapolis, and both lacrosse teams picked up top 10 wins this weekend. We'll break down all of that and more on this edition of The Left Bench.
To be honest, I just sit back every once in a while and just watch, because it's a fun place to play and a fun place to watch a game.
Just knowing that it's us versus everybody, and we're just really trying to prove people wrong.
Welcome everyone to The Left Bench, presented by Terps and Sports Central. Thanks for being with us. I'm Elana Mutnick here alongside Alex Gary. And Alex, it has been yet another crazy week for Maryland athletics.
Yeah, Elana, especially for men's and women's basketball, who are nearing the end of their regular season and are gearing up for such an exciting Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, well, we got to talk about men's first. And they just played their final game of the year at Xfinity Center this Sunday, hoping to finish conference play undefeated in that building. Maryland took on number 21 Northwestern in its home finale on Sunday, and the seniors shined on their special day. The Terps were hoping to move into a tie for the second place in Big Ten. That they did. It was back and forth and all offense for both teams in the first half, each shooting over 58% from the field. Northwestern's Chase Audege was knocking down bucket after bucket for the Wildcats, but then it was none other than Jameer Young with a huge buzzer beater to put Maryland up at the half, 41-39. Come the second half, the seniors were the stars of the show, with 4 of them hitting double figures, including Don Carey, who went 4 of 7 from the 3. As the clock winded down, Maryland just kept on shooting. The crowd kept on getting louder and louder, and Northwestern just couldn't keep up. The Terps' momentum never stopped, and they took the dub 75-59, finishing their conference season undefeated at home.
There was a culture that was set. I didn't want to go in and just try to win games, and like I've said, I'm in this for the long haul. And what those guys have done, Hawk, Dante, and those 3 guys, they have set the tone, and they set the culture at a very, very high standard. And that was my goal.
Earlier this season, Maryland women's basketball took care of Ohio State at home with ease, defeating the Buckeyes by 36. The Terps found themselves in a much closer affair this time Friday night that Coach Brenda Frese could only describe as a game that was made for March. Much of the first half saw the Terps and Buckeyes trading blows. Maryland took a narrow lead after a 9-3 run, but Ohio State fought back into it. With only 10 seconds left in the half, Abby Meyer put the team on her back with a clutch shot going into the break. And clutch is what Myers was the entire night. She balled out with a season-high 24 points. The second half was still back and forth for these 2 teams, jockeying for any lead. But with 11 seconds left, a Meyer 3-throw gave the Terps a 2-point lead. Ohio State had a chance to tie it, but the ball did not get off before the buzzer, and the Terps stole a win in Columbus. How bad did Maryland want this one? Just listen to Brenda Frese in the huddle before the fourth quarter.
It's 30-20 in that quarter. Are you kidding me? We got to dictate on the defensive end. You got to show up. You've got to show up for us and give us energy on the defensive end. It starts on the defensive.
Yeah, Alex, and after watching that, a lot of people actually critique Brenda Frese for being so intense on her players, but I think that's what makes her so great.
And that's honestly why she's in the conversation, or probably near the top of the conversation for Big Ten Coach of the Year.
Exactly.
And the Terps have a round 2 bye in the Big Ten tournament in Minneapolis and will not be in action until Friday. After just missing out on a 2 seed, the Terps find themselves in 3rd.
Rutgers and Northwestern will face off on Wednesday, with the winner meeting Illinois the next day. The winner of that matchup will square off against the Terps on Friday.
Now, speaking of Big Ten's women's basketball, wasn't that an exciting day on Sunday or what?
Yeah, Alex, there was a lot of action on the hardwood this past weekend, but 2 of those games were especially noteworthy. Alexa Wooten is in studio to take us around the Big Ten.
That's right, guys. Many Big Ten teams celebrated their seniors, and what better way to do it than with 2 top 20 upsets at home? Starting off at the Kohl Center in Madison, Wisconsin, the Badgers suited up for senior day against the number 12 Michigan Wolverines. The two teams held even at 18 after the first quarter. It was a back-and-forth battle throughout the second and third, but Wisconsin was able to stay slightly ahead heading into the fourth, up 52-49. The Badgers came out in the fourth with a 5-0 run, kicking it off with a three from Julie Post-Pichalova. Post-Pichalova had an outstanding game with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Michigan cut the lead to 4 with 2:25 remaining, but that was the closest they would come. Maddie Nolan hit a three with 39 seconds to go, but Wisconsin was able to hold off Michigan and upset the Wolverines 78-70. This win was the Badgers' third straight Big Ten win and secured them a first-round bye in the Big Ten tournament. Moving over to Iowa City, where the game everybody is talking about took place Sunday afternoon. The Hawkeyes were coming off that blowout loss here in College Park last Tuesday, where the Terps held Iowa's leading scorer, Caitlin Clark, to just 18 points. That, however, wasn't the story in Iowa City Sunday. The number 6 Hawkeyes celebrated their seniors with a matchup against the number 2 Indiana Hoosiers. Iowa came out hot, going on a 10-2 scoring run in the first 3 minutes of the game, forcing a timeout to be called by Indiana. The Hoosiers began chipping away, bringing it within 3 with 8:49 to go in the second quarter. An 8-0 run gave Indiana the lead by 1, followed by buckets traded by both teams on the following possessions, but a floater by Clark put the Hawkeyes up 1 going into the half. Clark was an assassin in Sunday's matchup, notching 34 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. Coming out of the half, the Hawkeyes extended their lead to 7, but a 5-0 run by the Hoosiers closed the gap. With 4.6 seconds to go, tied at 83, Maddie Holmes looked to go up with it, but a foul was called and she was sent to the line. She made both, giving Indiana the lead. Iowa used a timeout to move the ball to their half of the court. With 1.5 seconds left on the clock and the ball on Iowa's sideline, a double screen for Clark gets her open. Stepping into the shot, she lets it rip off on one leg, and boom. The ball circles in and Clark wins it for the Hawkeyes 86-85. Let's watch that one more time. This win ended Indiana's 14-game win streak and secured Iowa's place as the number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. All 4 teams are now gearing up for the Big Ten tournament, and it should be an exciting one. Number 1 Indiana and number 2 Iowa get a 2-game bye for the tournament. Michigan sits at number 5 with a 1-game bye, and we'll see number 10 Wisconsin face off against number 7 Purdue Thursday, March 2nd. Alex, Elana, there's a lot of talent on the women's side of the Big Ten this year, and we've seen a bunch of upsets this past week. It should be an exciting tournament this weekend.
Yeah, it definitely should be. And with 5 Big Ten teams in the top 20, it really, really shows a lot of talent.
And I just got to highlight Caitlin Clark. I mean, you want to talk about someone who's made for the moment, made for March? She's her.
Definitely.
She really is.
Thank you so much for coming on, Alexa.
Thanks for having me.
And our Big Ten women's basketball coverage doesn't end here, because this week's In Focus episode is all about Brenda Freese's Maryland squad.
Alexa will anchor that show alongside Ricky Podgorski, and you can catch it on YouTube Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
But first, Elana, I know there's only a few weeks in the season, but we have to start talking about this amazing lacrosse weekend.
Yeah, those were a pair of thrillers on the road this weekend, Alex. The number 6 Maryland men's lacrosse team secured their first road win of the season on Saturday against the number 4 Princeton Tigers. The Terps led throughout, taking the lead in the first quarter and holding that lead throughout thanks to the Terps' solid defense. Senior attack Daniel Malt scored 4 points with an assist for 5, making Saturday his biggest game since the 2021 season against Ohio State. Jack Corus added 3 more for the Terps, and it was his second game in a row with a hat trick and 4 points, equaling his career best for the Terps. Freshman goalie Brian Rupel made his collegiate debut in goal with 14 saves. Rupel allowed only 5 goals against one of the most stellar offenses in the nation. Daniel Kelly, Owen Murphy, and Ryan Siracusa added 4 more for the Terps, resulting in an 11-5 victory against the Tigers. Maryland's flawless defense held the Tigers to only 1 goal in the first half and 5 goals total, and the Terps scored on 3 of their 6 opportunities on Saturday, capitalizing on Princeton's negligence to pull off the upset. The Terps' dominant third quarter scoring kept them in the lead, and Maryland gave the Tigers its first loss of the season. The Terps will return home this Saturday at 1 to host number 3 Notre Dame, looking for another win.
Maryland women's lacrosse took to the road for their second away game this week, and in the swamps of Gainesville, the Terps earned a narrow victory against the number 7 ranked Gators. It did not take long for the Terps to open the scoring in Gainesville, as Libby May scored just 27 seconds into the game. And this quick scoring offense wasted no time, notching 7 goals in the first quarter to the Gators' 4. Libby May would notch another one, extending the lead to 4. May once again balled out for the Terps, making her second game in a row with 6 goals. That would be the last of the Terps scoring for almost 30 minutes, as the Gators would go on a 6-goal run to lead by 2 at the end of the third. The Terps and Gators would trade goals until the game was deadlocked at 13 with a minute left to play. As the clock wound down, Tori Hench got the ball and launched a shot into the top right corner, giving the Terps the go-ahead goal in the victory in Gainesville.
Yeah, Alex, and with 17 seconds on the clock, that game-winning shot was sure one to remember.
And especially after not scoring for 30 minutes, to find a way to win that game, absolute resilience by the squad.
It sure was. And one team wasn't as successful on the road, though, unfortunately. Number 21, Maryland Gymnastics headed to Nebraska to compete in the Big Five meet with Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, and Penn State. Aleka Chiknius posted a team high on the bars at a 9.850. Next up was the beam, where Madeline Komorowski scored a beautiful 9.825. Her team was excited about that one after. Emma Silberman was the star of the show, scoring a 38.975 all-around score with a 9.850 on vault, 9.650 on bars, 9.625 on beam, and lastly, a 9.850 on the floor. The Gym Terps had a strong showing, but finished 5th overall in the meet, scoring a 194.475. And stay with us, because when we come back, we'll recap a wild weekend for Maryland baseball and softball, which included a perfect Friday night.
And we'll talk to a player responsible for that perfection. Keep it right here.
As a dad, every day is a challenge. To make sure that the time that I have, I spend with them. It doesn't matter how tired you are, you have to try and to teach them. When they learn something new, and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Elana Mutnick here with Alex Gary. And Alex, the Dirty Terps were really tested this weekend.
Yeah, Elana, it's never easy going against the defending national champions, but the Dirty Terps proved that they can hold their own and compete with the best in college baseball. Maryland headed down south this weekend to face off against the Ole Miss Rebels in a 3-game series. They were able to take a game from the defending champions. In their first matchup, Jason Savicol returned to the mound after a poor showing against South Florida. Savicol proved he's a primetime pitcher, recording 9 strikeouts through 7 innings. With the Terps up 3-1 in the 7th, Ian Petrutz does what the Terps do best this season, hitting yet another grand slam for the Terps and putting the game out of reach as Maryland won the first matchup 9-2. The other 2 matchups did not go as well for the Dirty Terps. The second match of the series saw the Terps slip away 6-4 lead as an 8-run 7th and 8th inning killed the Terps' momentum. Nick Dean struggled on the mound as he was unable to keep the Rebels at bay, dropping the game 12-6. In the final game of the series, the Terps started the game in an 8-2 hole after a nightmare 3rd inning saw the Rebels score 7. The Terps did not give up as Nick LaRusso's 2-run homer helped spark a comeback that brought the score to 10-8. but the nightmares continued for the Terps as a 7-run 7th inning for Rebels ended the game due to the 10-run mercy rule, dropping the series to Ole Miss 2-1. And though the Terps would have loved to come home with a 2-win, it was an exciting weekend nonetheless.
And now we're lucky to be joined by the man who had the call all weekend, Nathan Schwartz, who was in Oxford with the Maryland Baseball Network.
Yeah, guys, it was a great atmosphere down there in Oxford this weekend.
So, Nate, we saw in the second 2 games against Ole Miss that the bullpen was kind of struggling to end those innings and avoid those nightmare huge run innings. What do they need to change in the bullpen to ensure that they can close out these innings and not end up with a lot of runs?
I think the biggest thing they need to work on is not giving up so many walks. They gave up 5 in Game 2 of the series on Saturday, and they gave up 4 on Sunday in the mercy rule. And I think what hurt them on Saturday was when the walks came in. They walked the number 9 hitter for Ole Miss, Reagan Burford, 3 different times. That turned the lineup over to Jacob Gonzalez, who's one of the best players in all of college baseball, and he made Maryland pay all 3 of those times. So it's really not so much giving up the walks, it's when they're walking those hitters. And another thing I think the pitching staff as a whole needs to work on is giving up the long ball. The Terps bullpen gave up 4 homers over the last 2 games of the series. The entire staff has given up 13 so far through the first 7 games. And a lot of that is just big momentum. Ole Miss had 2 3-run home runs on Sunday and the grand slam that wound up walking off the game in the 7th inning, leading to the mercy rule. So limiting the damage. You can allow guys to get on base, but then giving up the long ball, giving Ole Miss 3 runs 2 separate times, and then a 4-run spot there in the 7th on the grand slam. That's something they're going to have to work on.
Yeah, and speaking on that mercy rule, we know the Terps got mercied in their 3rd game of the series. So how do you expect them to bounce back for their next game on Tuesday?
I think they're going to bounce back pretty well. This is a team that takes it one day at a time. They don't really worry about what happened the night or the day before. They go into each game expecting to win. They have a lot of confidence. It's a good, positive group. Coach Vaughn has done a great job with this group. He only used that Ole Miss series as a measuring stick to see where they were, and they competed well. They were in all 3 of those games, and they dominated Ole Miss on Friday night. So I think they are going to take that as a positive and move past that. And they get Ole Miss again on Friday. So I think later today against Delaware, what they're going to want to do is just get back to hitting the ball well. The bats are heating up. They're hitting the long ball a lot more. They're back in the bob. The temperature's rising. So as long as they can get back to the fundamentals of what they're doing at the plate, I think they'll be just fine.
And Nate, I may be getting a little ahead of myself with this next question, but through 6 games, Terps have recorded 4 grand slams. Now, the NCAA record was set by Arizona State back in 2003 with 14 grand slams. Do we think it can happen this season?
I think it's possible, Alex. I think it's possible. But what I am going to say is that the grand slam is such a rare play in just baseball in general. The odds of it lining up for the Terps 10 more times to tie the record and then 11 more times to break the record, I'd say is pretty unlikely. But if they can keep loading the bases, they did it a lot so far in this season so far, and they were 0 for 6 with the bases loaded on Saturday and Sunday after Petrutz hit that grand slam. So they're getting more opportunities with the bases loaded. They didn't capitalize on those opportunities on Saturday and Sunday, which possibly faulted them into falling behind in both of those games. But can they? Yes. Will they? I don't think so.
Well, Nate, as, the undisputed king here at TSC of predictions, I was the one who said Jameer Young was going to lead the Terps in points.
I'll give you that.
I'm going to put a prediction out there now. I'm going to say they get it done. I may be, a little bit of idealist, but, I think they can get it done. Why not?
Comeback question for you. How many of those go to Ian Petrutz?
I'm going to say if they do get it done, it's going to be around 4, I want to say.
He's already got 2, so I think he could definitely hit 2 more.
I don't agree with him on a lot, but I'm going to have to agree with him on that one.
Yeah, if they are going to do it, they're going to have to get it with the big guys at the plate, with Matt Shaw, Nick LaRusso, Ian Petrutz. Petrutz and LaRusso already have 3 combined. If those guys get up with the bases loaded, I have no doubt that they're going to capitalize on a lot more opportunities.
Definitely something we got to keep an eye out. But thanks, Nate, so much for coming on. Thanks for going all the way to Ole Miss. And thanks for coming on again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now go get some sleep.
I will.
The number 21 Maryland softball team suffered a 5-0 loss against Baylor on Friday in the second game of the Baylor Invitational. Baylor took a 1-0 lead in the second after a scoreless first inning. Senior pitcher Courtney White started for the Terps, allowing 6 hits and 4 runs and striking out 4. Freshman Nicole Bedeau made her college debut with a strikeout after replacing White. Sophomore Shylon Govin for the Bears hit a 3-run homer into center field, building Baylor's lead to 4-0 in the third inning. The Bears added 1 more in the fifth on a ground out, handing the Terps their second loss. The Terps travel to North Carolina on Friday to face St. Joseph's in their first game in the East Carolina tournament. But we have to talk about Trinity Schlotterbeck's perfect game against Texas A&M Conference on Friday.
And we're absolutely thrilled to be join Trinity on Zoom right now.
With us.
Hi, how are you guys?
So, Trinity, your red-hot start to your season came with a special accolade this weekend, the first perfect game for Maryland softball in almost 10 years. So tell me about how that moment was for you. How was the game going? How were your teammates reacting? Just tell me about that moment.
Yeah, it was super special because it was something that I didn't even realize happened until the game was over, actually. So it was a super special moment. My teammates were amazing. My defense was amazing. They were with me the whole time. Amelia was amazing behind the plate. So I definitely could have done that moment, celebrated that moment without them.
Trinity, in history, have you ever thrown a perfect game before?
No, I have not. So yeah, this was my first one ever.
And the accolades didn't even stop there for you, as you were named Big Ten Pitcher of the Week. How did that feel as well?
Yeah, it was super awesome. I actually just found out, my family came to visit me right as they showed up. So it was really awesome getting to celebrate with them today. So yeah.
And so now with the North Carolina tournament opening up on Friday, what's your team focusing on in preparation for the big game?
We're definitely looking to improve our offense this weekend. It was a struggle for us there. So we definitely want to get back on the field, get back to practice, get back to getting comfortable on the plate again. So just getting back into routine, seeing the ball, hitting the ball, knowing what we know how to do. So this practice is super important, and we're really looking forward to this weekend.
And in Waco, you had your first competition in the Big Ten against Minnesota, which didn't necessarily go your way. How are you going to use that for when you return to Big Ten play next month?
I think we definitely learned a lot. We learned a lot about being prepared, knowing what to expect. So we're going to go into a lot of our Big Ten series definitely more ready to hit the ground running, going in offensively ready, defensively ready. So it taught us a lot about where we need to clean up a few things and what we need to make more crisp for Big Ten.
Well, thank you so much, Trinity, so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
We'll look back at our favorite calls from this weekend.
And as always, we'll crown our Terp of the Week, Pro Terp, and Top 5 Plays. Don't go anywhere.
Life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This this place that I call home.
I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I love you.
Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Welcome back once again to the left bench. I'm Elana Mutnick alongside Alex Gary. And now, Alex, there were obviously a lot of special moments this weekend.
You're right, Elana, and that's why we're bringing back Call of the Week. And it was hard to narrow it down to just one from this action-packed week, but here's what we went with.
He works his man. Step back three. Cardiac! An absolute buzzer beater from Jameer Young. Hum diddly dee, Jameer Young. Come on, baby. You gotta love it. From the graduate from Carolina.
The 0-1. Petrutz cranks one deep right field, and it's into the Ole Miss bullpen. Ian Petrutz with his second grand slam of the season. And Maryland breaks this one open. It's 7-1 in favor of the Dirty Terps. The fourth grand slam of the year for the Maryland Terrapins. Ian Petrutz is fired up. And that silences this crowd here at Swayze Field.
And seeing as we had one of the winners from this week in studio here, thought might as well bring him up and give him his award in person.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, Nate?
Come on, Nate.
All right.
We got something really special
Really
for
special,
you.
really special.
Ready?
Nice firm hand.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you guys. Thank you
Congratulations.
guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on Calls of the Week. Thank you guys for having me on today, and hopefully there will be more Calls of the Week featured on the left bench in the future for me.
All right, well, great to see you as always.
Thank
Good job.
you guys.
Good
Thank
work.
you.
Of course.
And it did not matter what reptile or Terp of the Week was playing against because she balled out against the Dragons and the Gators. This week's Terp of the Week goes to Libby May. May started the season off slow, but then she's been on a tear, especially this week. May scored 6 goals against Drexel last Tuesday and ran it back with 6 more against Florida on Saturday. This 12-goal week propelled May to the top of the Terps scoring charts, and she remains a big reason that the Terps are ranked in the top 10. Congratulations to Libby May for being named our Terp of the Week.
And this week's Pro Terp is no other than our own Brooke DeBurdine. As a fifth-year senior, Brooke was the first Terrapin to start in 100 career games. The powerhouse currently holds program record with 104 starts and was UMD's Student Athlete of the Year in 2022. In 2021, she was first-team All-American and first-team All-Big Ten and was named to Big Ten Players to Watch list. Brooke currently plays for the USA Field Hockey Women's National Team alongside her sister, Emma DeBurdine, who just recently earned her first international cap with Team USA. Congratulations to Brooke for being this week's Pro Terp. And now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Alex, get us started with our top 5 plays of the week.
With pleasure. At number 5, we have Jameer Young beating the buzzer against Northwestern. He has ice in his veins. You can see him mouthing the words, "I'm him." And honestly, I could not agree with that statement anymore.
And at number 4, we have Victoria Hench's game-winning goal against Florida on Saturday with only 17 seconds left on the clock. I guess Maryland just had that clutch gene this week. They just look at that, 17 seconds left. How incredible.
And at number 3, it's Ian Petrutz going yard for the Terps' 4th Grand Slam of the season. I mean, we might as well rename this team to Denny's with the amount of Grand Slams they're dealing out. We heard Nate's call earlier, and I mean, yet another Grand Slam for this team. 4 on the season. Oh my God, that is insane, an insane statistic.
And at number 2, we take it back to the Xfinity Center for Hakeem Hart's epic one-handed dunk. He cocks that thing back and slams it with authority. What a way to kick off his senior day.
And last but not least, at number 1, we have Trinity Schlotterbeck's final pitch that gave the Terp its perfect game in Maryland softball history since 2013. I mean, we just heard from her moments ago. What a pitch and what a moment for Terp softball. And that's going to be all for this edition of The Left Bench. As always, make sure to keep up with us on all of Terrapin Sports Central's coverage on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
And stay tuned for the next edition of The Left Bench in Focus coming your way this Thursday at 9 a.m.
We'll see you all later.